yesterday, inside a highly secure U.S. Capitol hearing room, a Navy SEAL turned senator, a Marine veteran, and Capitol police officers all engaged in what was basically a physical brawl.
Yeah,
And it was broadcast to the entire world.
it really was.
So today, our mission on this deep dive is to take a stack of news sources from KPAX, Fox News, and GeoNews to unpack exactly what happened and, well, more importantly, how the people involved are aggressively spinning the narrative today.
That's the key right there, the spin.
Right. So you are going to hear the audio, you'll look at the physical reality of a viral video, and then contrast that with the carefully crafted public relations statements that followed. Okay, let's unpack this.
It is a genuinely remarkable collision of events to study. What we are looking at is a moment that exploded across the internet almost instantly.
Almost instantly.
But what's fascinating here is not just the physical altercation itself. It is how this single, highly documented, maybe 30-second incident serves as a real-time masterclass in narrative construction.
A masterclass.
Exactly. We have raw visual evidence, and then we have official statements released by 3 distinct parties. And placing those side by side reveals how the exact same physical reality can be completely rewritten depending on, well, who is holding the pen.
Yeah, that is so true. Let's set the physical scene for you just so you can visualize the contrast between the environment and the chaos that breaks out.
Good idea.
So it's Wednesday, March 4, 2026. We are inside a hearing room at the U.S. Capitol. Specifically, this is a hearing for the Senate Armed Services Subcommittee on the current readiness of the joint force.
A very heavy title.
Very heavy. Normally, you're picturing wood-paneled walls, microphones, senators in dark suits reading from thick binders, and just a very hushed bureaucratic atmosphere.
Yeah.
It is the definition of procedural decorum.
Which is exactly what makes the disruption that shatters that calm all the more jarring.
Totally.
The interruption comes from a man in the audience who stands up right in the middle of the proceedings.
Just stands right up.
Right. And our sources identify him as Brian McGinnis. His background is incredibly relevant to the physical and political dynamics that unfold here.
Very relevant.
Because McGinnis is a Marine Corps veteran, and on top of that, he's actually wearing a Marine Corps uniform during the incident.
Wow.
He is also an active political figure. He's a Green Party candidate running for the Senate in North Carolina.
So you have a Senate candidate who's also a military veteran standing up in uniform during a Senate Armed Services hearing.
Exactly.
And he doesn't just stand in silent protest, he starts shouting.
Shouting at the top of his lungs.
Our sources captured the exact quote that initiated this entire chain of events.
Let's hear it.
McGinnis shouted, quote, "America does not want to send its sons and daughters to war for Israel."
Right.
Now, according to the reports, he was raising his voice against the U.S.-Israel military campaign in Iran that just resulted in the killing of their supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei.
And we should pause here just to be very clear for you listening.
Yes, absolutely.
We are strictly reporting the exact words and the context from these sources. We aren't taking any political stance on the military campaigns, the politicians, or the protest itself.
Exactly. Total neutrality here. We're just looking at the facts on the ground.
Right. And the facts on the ground are that the environment inside a congressional hearing room is highly secure and highly regulated.
Oh, yeah.
The moment a disruption of that volume occurs, the procedural response is just immediate. 2 United States Capitol police officers immediately move in on McGinnis.
Zero hesitation.
0. Their objective is standard: corral the disruption, gain physical control, and guide the individual out the nearest exit.
So walking through the timeline chronologically, the initial phase is a struggle, but the officers do manage to get McGinnis moving out of the seating area and toward those heavy wooden doors at the back of the room.
Right. They're making progress.
They are, but the doorway is where the situation rapidly deteriorates.
It falls apart completely.
The reports detail how McGinnis escalates his physical resistance. He doesn't just plant his feet or drop his weight.
No.
He wedges his left hand in his arm directly into the hinge of the hearing room door, right between the door itself and the heavy frame.
That is a severe mechanical bottleneck.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
Think about it. You have multiple grown men, law enforcement officers, attempting to pull a trained Marine veteran out of a room.
Right.
While he is using his own body, anchoring himself in a highly vulnerable physical pinch point to prevent them from moving him.
It is an incredibly tense physical stalemate.
Extremely tense.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because the Capitol police officers are not the only ones who get physically involved in trying to pry him out of that doorframe.
No, they are not. And this is the variable that turns a standard Capitol protest removal into a globally viral event.
Suddenly, Senator Tim Sheehy leaps into the fray.
Out of no one.
Based on our stack of sources, let's look at his background for a second. He's a Republican senator from Montana,
Right.
but crucially, for the context of a physical struggle, he is a former Navy SEAL. So you have a former Navy SEAL senator jumping out of his committee seat, rushing across the room to the doorway, and physically joining the Capitol Police to help tackle and eject this Marine veteran protester.
The visual is stunning.
Stunning.
You have multiple layers of authority and elite military training physically clashing in a congressional doorway.
Yeah.
But the sources highlight an auditory detail from the video that is visceral.
Yeah, you can hear it so clearly.
It becomes the absolute center of the controversy that follows. As the police officers and Senator Sheehy are all pushing, pulling, and struggling to get McGinnis to release his grip on the doorframe,
All right.
a loud cracking sound is clearly captured on the audio.
It's awful.
You have all this immense physical force concentrated on a man who has his arm wedged in a heavy door hinge and then a distinct crack.
It is a genuinely disturbing sound, and it is the pivot point of our entire deep dive today.
Yes.
Because once the physical altercation ends, McGinnis is finally removed and the doors are shut, the public relations battle begins.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to look at how the different parties involved describe that exact same loud physical event.
Right.
You just heard the baseline facts of the struggle at the door. Now let's dissect the three distinct public perspectives that were released, because they are a masterclass in narrative framing.
Let's start with perspective one. The protester, Brian McGinnis.
Okay.
According to the Geo News report, McGinnis spoke to reporters after receiving medical treatment. His narrative is the most direct.
Very straightforward.
He claims that his arm was fractured during the scuffle with the Capitol Police and Senator Sheehy. He is drawing a straight line from the physical force used by the people pulling him out to the loud cracking sound and the resulting broken bone.
It's cause and effect from his point of view.
Exactly.
Now contrast that immediately with perspective two, Senator Tim Sheehy.
The senator's take?
Yes, the senator took to X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, to release his official framing of the event. And his choice of words is highly strategic.
Very deliberate.
He wrote that the Capitol Police were attempting to remove an, quote, unhinged protester. And he specifically noted that McGinnis was fighting back.
Let's pause on that specific word for a second. Unhinged.
It's a loaded word.
It does an immense amount of heavy lifting in a very short sentence. It immediately frames McGinnis not as a passionate political candidate or even a fellow veteran with a grievance, but as someone entirely irrational.
Right. It lays the necessary groundwork to justify a physical intervention.
How so?
Well, think about it. If the person is just protesting, a physical tackle might seem excessive to the public.
True.
But if the person is unhinged and fighting back, then physical force becomes a required public service.
Ah, I see what you mean.
Sheehy goes on to this post to write, quote, I decided to help out and de-escalate the situation.
Wow.
That sentence is a fascinating use of terminology. He's defining his action physically jumping into a wrestling match at a door hinge as an act of de-escalation.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate for a second.
Go for it.
If a former Navy SEAL is sitting in a room and he sees two police officers struggling in a severe bottleneck with a guy who won't let go of a door,
Yeah.
isn't jumping in to help just a baseline human instinct, like a protective reflex?
That very well might be an instinctual reflex action in the heat of the moment. That's entirely possible.
Right.
But we are analyzing the statement written after the fact.
Good point.
When the dust settles, a political communications team has to frame that instinctual action for the public. Choosing the word de-escalate to describe adding a third body and more physical force to a confined struggle is a very deliberate PR choice.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It categorizes the senator's actions as calming and restorative, regardless of the physical reality of the viral video.
He also added a very pointed summary of the event at the end of his post.
What did he say?
Sheehy wrote, "This gentleman came to the Capitol looking for a confrontation, and he got one. I hope he gets the help he needs without causing further violence."
That is fascinating.
Right. In Sheehy's narrative, the senator is the helper, the de-escalator, and McGinnis is the sole source of violence who got exactly what he was asking for.
Which brings us to perspective 3.
The police.
Yes. And this might be the most carefully crafted narrative of all of them. The United States Capitol Police.
They always have to be so careful.
Always. Law enforcement statements are written with intense scrutiny, particularly regarding legal liability and use of force.
Right.
Their official statement describes McGinnis as an unruly man who put everyone in a dangerous position by violently resisting their officers.
They actually address the broken arm claim directly in their statement, too.
They do.
This is the part of the source material that really stood out to me as a lesson in institutional communication.
You have to listen closely to the structural phrasing here.
Okay.
The police quote says, McGinnis got his own arm stuck in a door to resist our officers and force his way back into the hearing room.
Got his own arm stuck.
Exactly. From a legal and public relations standpoint, that phrasing is an absolute fortress.
A fortress. I like that.
And notice the passive construction and the allocation of agency. They are completely removing the actions of the officers or the senator from the equation of the injury.
They really are.
They aren't saying his arm was injured while we forcefully removed him.
Right.
They are saying he got his own arm stuck. The implication being broadcast to the public is that any injury, any loud cracking sound, is entirely self-inflicted.
Wow.
It is framed as the direct result of his choice to use the door hinge as a weapon of resistance, absolving the removing parties of the mechanical outcome.
It is incredible to see how a single 30-second physical struggle can be fractured into 3 completely different textual realities.
Yeah.
Think about the lenses you have to look through here. Lens 1, a fractured arm caused by police and a senator.
Right.
Lens 2, a necessary de-escalation of an unhinged man. And Lens 3, a self-inflicted injury by a violently resisting individual.
You basically have to pick your reality.
You, as the consumer of this news, have to sift through all 3 of these carefully constructed realities just to figure out what you're looking at on the video.
But the physical reality of the fallout, however, is undeniable.
Very undeniable.
And severe for everyone involved.
Yeah.
The sources confirm that this wasn't just a brief, chaotic scuffle where everyone dusted themselves off and walked away.
Oh, not at all.
3 different Capitol Police officers had to be treated for injuries sustained while working to prime McGinnis from the doorframe.
3 officers.
Yes. And McGinnis himself, as we noted, received medical treatment for his arm.
Beyond the physical injuries, the legal fallout for McGinnis is massive.
Oh, it's significant.
He didn't just get a citation and a warning to stay off the premises.
No.
According to the reports, he is now facing a very heavy list of formal charges.
What are the specific charges?
3 counts of assault on a police officer, 3 counts of resisting arrest, and 1 charge of crowding, obstructing, and incommoding.
Let's break down that last charge. Incommoding.
Yeah, what does that even mean?
It is a very specific legal term that you see utilized frequently in Washington, D.C., almost exclusively related to unlawful demonstrations.
Interesting.
It essentially means causing a significant inconvenience, blockage, or obstruction in a public space where you do not have the legal right or permit to do so.
So like blocking a doorway.
Exactly. It is the legislative answer to people shutting down hallways or blocking doorways. And this ties directly into the strict logistical rules that govern the U.S. Capitol, which the police made sure to heavily highlight in their press statement.
They were very explicit about the geographical boundaries of free speech in their jurisdiction.
Very explicit.
The police statement read, quote, "Protests are not allowed inside the congressional buildings. There are plenty of other spots on Capitol grounds outside where demonstrations are allowed.
Right.
They are drawing a hard, bright, legal line for the public."
It grounds the entire chaotic incident in the cold reality of the law. A congressional hearing room is not a public square.
Right, you can't just act like you're on a sidewalk.
Exactly. The physical actions taken inside that specific building carry immediate, severe, and quantifiable legal consequences.
Yeah.
You can hold a sign on the lawn, but the second you disrupt a formal proceeding inside, and especially the second you physically resist removal by wedging your body into a doorway, you cross a threshold from free expression into multiple assault and obstruction charges.
We have looked at the timeline, the intense physical mechanics of the bottleneck at the door, the collision of a Marine veteran and a Navy SEAL, the wildly conflicting PR spins, and the serious legal charges.
So what does this all mean?
If we distill this down, the core takeaway here is a lesson in modern media literacy.
Media literacy.
Yeah, so we just watched how an incredibly brief, chaotic moment can instantly splinter into wildly different official accounts.
It's crazy how fast it happens.
It proves that a viral video, no matter how shocking or clear it seems, is never the whole story.
Ever.
To get the full 360-degree view of an event, you have to look at all the sources. You have to watch the physical evidence, yes.
Right. But you also have to aggressively dissect the carefully chosen words of the police, the politicians, and the protesters to see how they are trying to shape history the moment after it happens.
This is exactly why you should care about the mechanics of this incident. As you go over your week, scrolling through your feeds and consuming information, you are going to be bombarded with viral clips.
Constantly.
Short, out of context, bursts of chaos. This deep dive highlights why it is so vitally important to not just watch a 5-second clip of a scuffle, make an immediate assumption, and scroll on.
You can't just scroll on.
You have to read the subsequent statements. You have to understand the massive gap between a physical action, like wedging an arm in a door, and the calculated legal and political narratives constructed around that action.
It takes work.
It does, but doing that protects you from simply absorbing someone else's spin.
This raises an important question.
What's that?
One that I think will linger long after the dust settles on this specific Capitol incident, and one that applies to almost any viral conflict we see today. When a physical scuffle occurs in a highly political, high-stakes environment, how does the lens of whoever is watching change the definition of de-escalation versus assault?
Is injecting more physical force into a bottleneck a noble act of de-escalation, or does it inherently cross the line into assault? It all depends on whose statement you were reading and what narrative you were primed to believe. Thank you so much for joining us and spending your valuable time with us today. By looking at the raw facts, the background of the individuals, and the highly specific wording of the fallout, you are now fully informed on all the angles of this U.S. Capitol incident. Keep asking questions and keep looking past the headlines.